The demigods, qualified by the super excellent quality of the mode of goodness, are situated in the heavenly planets, whereas the human beings, because of their nature in the mode of passion, live on the earth in company with their subordinates. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 14:14-15, it is said that those who are highly developed in the mode of goodness are promoted to the higher heavenly planetary system, and those who are overpowered by the mode of passion are situated in the middle planetary systems, the earth and similar planets. But those who are surcharged with the mode of ignorance are degraded to the lower planetary systems or to the animal kingdom. The demigods are highly developed in the mode of goodness, and thus they are situated in the heavenly planets. Below human beings are the animals, although some of them mingle with human society. Cows, horses, dogs, etc. are habituated to living under the protection of human beings. The word achantikena is very significant in this verse. By development of the mode of goodness or material nature, one can become situated in the heavenly planets. But by excessive development of the modes of passion and ignorance, a human being indulges in killing the animals who are meant to be protected by mankind. Persons who indulge in unnecessary animal killing have excessively developed in the modes of passion and ignorance and have no hope of advancing to the mode of goodness. They are destined to be degraded to lower statuses of life. The planetary systems are calculated as upper and lower in terms of the classes of living entities who live there. Achantikena satvena divam deva prapedire dharam raja svabhavena panayo yetathananu. The demigods qualified by the super excellent quality of the mode of goodness are situated in the heavenly planets, whereas the human beings, because of their nature in the mode of passion, live on the earth in company with their subordinates. Om Agyana Simrandasya Gyanandana Salakya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vajab Lampangom Langai Tikirim Yat Kripa Tadaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Swamini Sanamini Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Prachayani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pastyachadi Satayani Vanja Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sandhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, now here in the description of the universe, the universal form, how the universe is being structured and manifested, we hear how the living beings are placed, the different kinds of living beings placed in the different planetary systems. There are the planetary systems, sometimes it's divided, there are 3 planetary systems, and sometimes it says there are 14. And that's a matter, it's not either or. 3 is a general, very broad category, 14 more detailed. But there are, nevertheless, the higher planetary systems, the middle planetary systems, and then the lower planetary systems. And different living beings are placed in with different living beings with different mentalities are placed and are living in these different planetary systems. And the way that they are being, the criterion according to which they are placed in different planetary systems is to what degree everyone is contaminated or conditioned by the material modes of nature. This is of course, all living beings, originally spiritual living beings, we are all equal and pure. But when a living being gets in contact with the modes, with the material nature, then he gets conditioned by the material nature. Material nature is operating or existing in the three gunas, sattva guna, raja guna, and tama guna. And one can be differently conditioned by these modes of material nature. And it's a very important, you can say, science to actually know, to understand one's conditioned nature, and to also understand how one should free oneself from one's conditioned nature. It's especially discussed in the 14th chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, and later on also in the 17th and 18th chapter in detail. But it's interesting that in the 14th chapter, Krishna, he tells Arjuna, now I'm going to give you a knowledge that's even better than what I have given so far. It's the best of all knowledge I'm giving to you. And what does he give? The three modes of nature, trying to understand that. So one can say, how is that the best of all nature, the best of all knowledge? Because Krishna has already in the 9th chapter, that this is the most confidential knowledge, and he has given, describing about pure devotional service and complete surrender, and giving, for example, the verses about how he's present everywhere and still outside everything. He says this is actually, there's no better knowledge than that. So how can it be that suddenly Krishna says, this is even better, and it's just understanding nature, material nature? Well, the thing is, this knowledge is actually what can unlock everything else. We want to enter the spiritual world, and the descriptions of the spiritual world and the spiritual life and pure devotional service and the relationship between Krishna and the soul and so on. This is definitely the highest knowledge, and that is the spiritual existence. But right now it's locked. We don't have access to the spiritual existence. So we need a key. So this knowledge is the key. That's why it's the best of all knowledge. Krishna says, actually, because we can have so much knowledge about spiritual existence, but if we do not have the key to open the door, what's the use of it? So in one sense, that's Krishna says, this is really the key to understand how we are bound in this world and how we can become liberated, and then we can enter into spiritual existence. So it's very crucial, and it's also very practical to really understand how the modes of material nature are conditioned of all of us, and what modes of nature really they are. Sometimes it's, I know, especially in the beginning, and I know if all of you have a complete clear idea what the modes of material nature they are. They're not elements. Sometimes saying it's elements, but they're not elements. They're states of existence. And it's I find this simple example to understand this is, I'll just let me explain. It's material nature, and there's only one material nature, but it exists in three states. And these three states are the modes of material nature. And it's like you have the substance, which is called, sometimes it's called water, sometimes it's called ice, and sometimes it's called steam. It is the same substance, but it exists in three different states: as solid, as liquid, and as steam. Understand? So it's the same energy, but exists in three different states, and they're very, very different actually. The effects of solid ice, or water or steam, they act completely differently. If someone, drops a, big block of ice in our head. We break our head, but someone drops same amount of water. Actually, it's very pleasant, and even the questions afterwards. Yeah. So similarly, the material energy exists in 3 different states, and that's also described. What are the 3 different states? It's creation, maintenance, and annihilation. When material nature is in a state where it is being created, then it is in the mode of passion. When it's in a state of being maintained, then it's sattva, it's goodness. And when it is being destroyed, this is ignorance. It actually boils down to this creation, maintenance, and destruction. And that's also the 3 deities who are behind Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu. They are the ones who are in control of the 3 modes of material nature. So Lord Brahma, he's in charge of the mode of passion, and so that means that is creating, building up, like that. Also, that's why, for example, I understand that in India, I don't know if it still goes on, if it's but I understand used like that when there was a wedding. And when there were invitations sent out to the wedding, then it will be on a card with Lord Brahma on, because he's in charge of the mode of passion. And combination man, woman, building family, and so on. This is, creating. This is mode of passion. And so it is controlled by the modes of material nature, are being controlled by Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. And everything about material energy existing, at any point in time, it is in either sattva, rajas, tamas. We hear there are, there's gross material nature. There's also subtle matter, mind, intelligence, and ego, and they're all in these 3 different states at any point in time, and the souls who get in touch with material nature then associate with these by their choice. It's actually our choice. We have a choice, and the more conscious we are, we can make choices what to associate with goodness, passion, and ignorance. And according to our choices, then we become conditioned. And we are conditioned in different ways. Some are very sattvic, some are very passionate, some are very much in ignorance. And then living beings are placed accordingly and elevate and degrade from lifetime to lifetime according to how one associates with them, with the modes of material nature. In the beginning, everyone is being placed in different places in the universe, according to one's conditioning from previous lifetime or previous creation of the universe. And then one is acting. Those who are in goodness, they have the highest degree of freedom and ability to choose. Those who are in passion have less, and those who are in ignorance actually have no. They're completely controlled by material nature. They don't have freedom, even though it looks like, they have freedom, but they don't have freedom. They cannot, like animals, don't have freedom, but they act freely, but they're forced to act freely. Or it's like animals, they cannot help themselves, although they do exactly what they want to. You have an animal, a lion that jumps on another animal. It does exactly what it wants to do, but it can't help itself. That's the nature of the animals. So it's an interesting phenomenon that, yes, everyone is acting freely, but as you fall lower, you're completely controlled still at the same time. human beings are in the mode of passion. We are here in the middle planetary system placed, and human beings are basically in the mode of passion. We are all very passionate living beings. So we have more freedom than those who are in the mode of ignorance. We have more, but that also means we have more responsibility. We actually can discriminate. We can choose between actions in goodness, passion, and ignorance, and then we become conditioned accordingly. So we have freedom, much more freedom than the animals, but also we are very much pushed by the mode of passion. And this is why human life is a struggle, especially especially when we are, striving to move upwards, it becomes a really struggle because we're fighting with our passionate nature, that is trying to pull us down into passionate activities, trying to enjoy. Mode of passion is characterized by the desire to enjoy, and it is characterized by fruitive desires, and fruitive desires means I want to enjoy. I am the enjoyer, and I want to enjoy. But human beings, we have the possibility to cultivate sattva guna. That option is given to us. And if one can cultivate sattva guna, well, then eventually the result is one will rise and one will go to the higher heavenly planets, where everyone is situated in not pure sattva guna, but Prabhupada says excessive, predominant sattva guna. And so all the living beings in this universe, they are conditioned by the material modes in different degrees, and then placed accordingly. And that's this is what this verse here says. And then, of course, the message is that ultimately this is what the 14th chapter talks about also, that one should get rid of the conditioning of the modes of material nature. They're all binding. Nobody is free in the material nature. When one is in sattva guna, one is bound, and when one is in passion, one is even more bound. And in tamas, one is completely bound. One is bound in goodness by what is one bound by in goodness? Greg, Emilia knows. You're bound by happiness. Doesn't sound bad, but it's still binding. It means one is still bound to the cycle of birth and death. But when one is in the goodness, one becomes peaceful, and one actually becomes happy in material existence. But that is a binding one, and that's why the demigods, they have a very hard time liberating themselves from this world, because actually it is very nice. And it's not nice only in a passionate way. It's actually very, they're very peaceful, and they're acting and dealing with things that really are giving them satisfaction. And they're very satisfied within themselves. And also, of course, it is they're dealing with everyone else is in sattva guna. That means it's very pleasant to, association is very pleasant and like that. But one becomes there's not much impetus to liberate oneself from the material world altogether. So therefore, in one sense, human beings are more fortunate, because yes, we are in the mode of passion, and passion is characterized by, first of all, again, test what is one bound by in passion. Yeah, strong desires, and as a result, one is always suffering. In passion, one is suffering. When one has desires, one is suffering. That means I'm not satisfied, but I have this idea that I can achieve satisfaction by fulfilling my desires. But that means at the present I'm not satisfied because I have desires. But it's an illusion. One thinks that by achieving my desires, then I'll be happy. But you'll not, because you're still in the mode of passion, and you'll still be, one will still have this inner dissatisfaction. And it doesn't matter if one achieves the goal of one's desires. One will be frustrated nevertheless. So passion is miserable. One is always miserable. There's hard work. One is working so hard and running around and endeavoring and making plans and like that. And that is a misery. And then in the end, it is frustration because it didn't give one satisfaction. And then one becomes angry, and then one actually goes down into ignorance. And ignorance, one is bound also. What is one bound by in ignorance? Illusion and madness. Yeah. That is, and that's where you can see human beings who are very ignorant, mad. Animals are mad also. Of course, we think they're very cute and like that, but they're mad. And they're stupid. They're very stupid animals. And they're bound by that. They are very, very sad situation for those who are in the mode of ignorance. But human form is a great opportunity to become liberated if, given the right circumstances. Because one is, one is not as miserable as the animals and as covered over as by the animals. One has intelligence and can see. But also, one is pretty miserable in many ways. So one can see, actually, I want to get out of this world. I don't want to suffer like I'm doing here. So there's a good mixture of misery, but not too much. Not too much misery, not too little misery. On the heavenly planets, it's simply too nice. But here, it is a good mixture. We are suffering from the whips of material nature, and we can feel it. And but then also, there it's not constantly. But it's enough to give us the impetus to be constantly aware of that. Actually, this material existence is miserable, and that's actually a symptom of knowledge. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, out of the it's 26 symptoms of knowledge. It's in the 13th chapter, 8 verses 8 to 12. And one of the symptoms of someone who has knowledge is to always be aware of the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Never forget that. But always remember this. That will give one impetus to advance in spiritual life, to get out of this world here. So we as human beings who are very passionate, but by properly cultivating, that means we have to be educated and trained and live regulated lives. We can come first of all to the mode of goodness, but that's not enough. Then we can transcend the mode of goodness by coming to pure goodness, which is devotional service. Krishna is asked by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, how does one transcend the modes of material nature? And Krishna immediately says, Mam charyo vyabhicharina bhakti yogina sevate sagunan samati chaityan brahma bhuya kalpate. That one who is engaged completely in devotional service without falling down under any circumstance, it immediately transcends the modes of material nature and comes to the Brahma Buddha platform, to the transcendental platform. And also Krishna has said that earlier in the 7th chapter, Daivihesa Gunamai Mama Maya Durataya Mam Eva Ye Prapachante Mayam Etam Tarantite. That, how is it? And says actually this material nature, these gunas, they're very difficult to overcome. But then he said, but one who surrenders unto me easily crosses beyond it. So the key is to ultimately simply to surrender unto Krishna. But also get out of the modes of passion and ignorance and exist. Mode of goodness is in itself not liberating, but it's a favorable mode to practice surrender to Krishna and devotional service. And if we are in passion and ignorance, we cannot, of course, anyone can do some devotional service. Even dogs can eat prasadam, give a dog. So dog can, they can also somehow or other, be connected with Krishna, but not constantly, uninterruptedly. For that, we have to be in the mode of goodness. So therefore, we are being taught as human beings, for example, to follow 4 regulative principles. These are actually not transcendental principles. One does, just by following the 4 regulative principles, one does not become a pure devotee or is engaged in pure devotional service. Demons can follow the 4 regulative principles, actually. But it puts you in the mode of goodness. It means one comes to the human platform and one is in the mode of goodness. And if one is breaking the principles, well, then actually one cultivates passion and ignorance, and one will remain in passion and ignorance. This is the real. We're not following the regulative principles so much for moral reasons, because it's morally wrong to break these principles. It is also, but the real point is, it puts us in the mode of goodness. Prabhupada talks here about killing animals. It's not possible to be in the mode of goodness when one is, if one is killing animals. Therefore, there should be no eating of meat, fish, and eggs. Of course, also illicit sex definitely is completely in the mode of ignorance and passion. Intoxication puts one into ignorance, and also gambling is a very much puts one into passion, it's interesting, actually. Sometimes we might think that, how does it apply to me? I was not a gambler. Were you gamblers? A little bit. What were you gambling?
Taking unnecessary risks, or buying some lottery tickets in the past, or investing in things.
Yeah.
With some kind of hope for easy profit.
Yeah. It's actually interesting. Prabhupada, in the beginning years, when he talked about gambling, it was actually gambling and frivolous sports. And I guess it is still, but it's somehow or other we don't focus on that. But it's actually, the whole world is, so many people are absorbed in the sports, and like that. It is very passionate. It is, and it's like sports in. I'm not talking about, of course you can exercise to keep your body fit and like that. When it becomes like obsession, like it is, football obsession, or any kind of sport obsession, it's extremely passionate. It's, I'm so jubilant because I won. I won, which means someone has lost. So my happiness is is a cost of someone else suffering, someone else losing. That's symptomatic of passion, that my enjoyment is someone else's suffering. And it's such an obsession we had here. Was that in the beginning of the year? There was a very big, very important and significant event was taking place. Yeah, there was world match in cricket, which is very important. And it was India versus Australia World Championship. And it was on a Sunday, and it was during the same time when we had Sunday feast, and we only had a half number of guests, like we normally have. And then actually India lost, and many came there. Oh, we lost. I mean, first of all, it's ridiculous. What does it matter? I mean, it's a stupid game. I don't even know what. I never played cricket. I don't know the rules, anything. But I guess it's, something with a ball and someone running around, and what does it matter? Does it have any importance whatsoever? But when you become obsessed, it becomes like, it is the all-important thing, and we lost. And if they had won, if India had won, everyone would say, oh, we won, or like that. And it creates really a passionate and very, very, the opposite of the mentality that one is trying to cultivate in the mode of goodness. Therefore, gambling, frivolous sports, it's very agitating, disturbing for the mind. One cannot be peaceful. And one cultivates the wrong mentality. Mode of goodness, what is happiness in the mode of goodness? To a large degree, it is enjoying the happiness of others, seeing others being happy. Mode of goodness is characterized by, compassion, para dukkha dukhi, and para sukha sukhi, which means that my happiness is that others are happy. And when I see others are miserable, I feel great pain. It's even a fundamental religious principle. Bhagavatam says this is symptom of an eternal, eternal religion is that one is happy in the happiness of others and is miserable in the misery of others. And in the mode of goodness, one cultivates this pandita samadashina. One is, how is it pandit? Vidya vinaya sampane brahmane kavihastini shuni chaiva svapakita pandita samadashina. That a learned, pandit, he sees with equal vision what is a brahmana, a cow, a dog, an elephant, and a dog eater. Or a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, sees them with equal vision. He sees the spirit souls. He doesn't see them as different living beings. He sees an external body, and then he sees that it is, but as a nature of soul, they're all the same. And he's equal. He's equal to all because he doesn't have any. He has no desire to exploit them. In mode of passion is actually a mode of exploitation. I want to enjoy, and I'm going to use you for my enjoyment. That's a mode of passion. And then I discriminate, first of all, between you and me. You're a different category. Your objects I can enjoy, and I mean enjoy. That means, it's different. And some of you are my friends, and some of you my enemies, because I can use you for my enjoyment nicely, but you are not, I cannot use you. I don't see how. So then either I'm not interested in you, or even you're my enemies, you're my competitors. So that's very much the mentality of the mode of passion. And in the mode of goodness also, I mean, it's also described in the, which chapter? That's the 6th chapter, isn't it? Where Krishna says that the yogi, he sees, by understanding his own misery and happiness, he understands the happiness of everyone else. I don't know the Sanskrit exactly. I could find it. But Krishna, he talks about that. A true yogi, by comparing with himself, sees the happiness and suffering of everyone else. He understands that. He sees that, what is giving me happiness is also giving others happiness, and what is suffering for me is also suffering for others. He's very compassionate. And so that's Sattva Guna. One actually cultivates this, cultivates compassion, one cultivates desire for everyone being happy and so on. And passion is the opposite. And that's why I said the regulator principles have to be followed. Otherwise, we will be in the mode of passion. And then by following regulator principles, then we can add devotional service and completely surrender to devotional service. And then we will transcend the modes of material nature and ultimately be liberated from this world. Anyway, this is a huge topic, really a huge topic that we can talk so much about and get into detail. But we have to stop here. Any questions? You had a question?
Yeah, you gave that example of water, like ice and water and steam. So does it apply, or was it just so the ice is in mode of?
It doesn't apply that. It's just that you have one element, but exists in different states. Okay. Yeah. And I have to say, it's not a Shastric example. It's something from my head. Yeah, okay. But I think it makes sense. For me, it makes clear what we're talking about. There's only one energy, one material energy, but it exists in different states.
Yes. But then I got the feeling, when you talk about it, almost as if mode of ignorance and mode of passion is something bad.
Yeah.
But I feel a bit confused about it, because even in nature we can see, different things have their place, that play their role. There is something that comes out of it. For example, in the body, if I wouldn't sleep, which is ignorance, my cells wouldn't die. I wouldn't regenerate myself. If I'm very elevated yogi who doesn't need a sleep and is almost not deteriorating, that's fine. If I can get to that platform. But if I'm not there yet and I start thinking sleep is bad, then I will get sick.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel it's a bit, it can be very misleading to disregard passion, ignorance, or activities in that mode and try to jump too fast.
Yeah, that's okay. But the thing is, being conditioned by, we are conditioned by ignorance and by passion, and that's, that's undesirable. This is very binding us very much. Yes, in material nature, these modes of material nature, they are always changing, and they all have their, they have their purpose within material nature. Destruction has a purpose. Just like if you have a field that is overgrown with weeds, then you have to destroy ignorance to clear it, so you can again plant new seeds, and like that. So it's and passion has a purpose, has its purpose. Lord Brahma, he's in the mode of passion, and his main task is populating the universe. So it's a passionate activity, but it's necessary to create bodies. So the living beings, they get a chance to have bodies and can ultimately engage and get rid of material existence. So, one cannot artificially suddenly, just by saying so, now I'm transcendental. It doesn't work. We are conditioned, and we have to learn how to deal with our conditions properly. Therefore, there is regulation. We need sleep. Okay, so there is a regulated time. We go to bed at this time, we get up at this time, and not too much sleep and not too little sleep. That's yukta hara vihara sha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that one cannot be a yogi if one sleeps too much or sleeps too little, eats too much and eats too little. One has to be regulated. So the process of freeing one's or getting rid of the conditioning is a gradual one. So I mean that's all true, but that was not really the point. The point is that we to be conditioned by motor goodness is not as bad as being conditioned by passion, which is not as bad as being conditioned by ignorance. There's ignorance is, I mean, that future, as Prabhupada said, one's future is very dark when one is conditioned by ignorance. When one is conditioned by passion, it is a risky mode, but by correct regulation and cultivation, one can be elevated to the mode of goodness from passion. But it's passion is like gambling. It is. I mean, one can be elevated to mode of goodness. One can also degrade to ignorance, and many do. Many go from passion to ignorance by going from frustration, anger, madness. Okay?
I wanted to ask about entities who are in the mode of goodness. They have this mode para dukkha dukkhi and para sukha sukhi. So does it mean that they get rid of this mood of enjoyment, like I'm an enjoyer?
Mm.
Does it mean that when we elevate our consciousness to the mode of goodness, we get rid of this mood?
Yeah. I mean, if you're in pure goodness, then but that's pure devotee, and then you have you are. I mean, you're only interested in everyone else's happiness, including Krishna's happiness. If it's not pure, then there are still elements of passion and ignorance, and that means you will be predominant in the mode of goodness, but sometimes passion takes over, and then you get, you like Indra is an example of someone, he's basically in goodness, but sometimes passion takes over, and then he, then it's suddenly about himself and his own enjoyment. Because these modes are never pure. In our conditioned state, it's a mix. There's a mix. 3 modes multiplied by 3 is 9, and then 9 by 9 is 81, and you can multiply 81 by 81, and what is that? I mean, you get so many mixtures of modes of material nature. It is said it's like the 3 colors. There are only 3 colors: yellow, red, blue. But then you mix them, and mix them, and mix them, and you get thousands and even millions of different colors. So we do not exist, even those who are predominantly in mode of goodness, but they still have passion and ignorance within them. Yeah. Okay. Something else? Okay.
Can I get one?
Okay. Is that the Pujari?
Yeah.
Okay. Could also be the deities.
You were telling that we don't, if we want to achieve our goals, then when we achieve them, we will not be happy. And practically everyone knows that. But why still there is the police like that? Why the people still believe that, despite they know it will not become true?
Because people are, we are in the mode of passion, and that is how. This is how Maya works. Maya is illusion. And Maya is creating constantly illusions for us when we are conditioned by passion and ignorance. We are sufficiently experienced to know that this will not give us happiness, but still we get covered over, and then we fall under illusion. We go from, we endeavor, we try to enjoy, we get frustrated, then we go to renunciation. It's called bhoga and chaka, that we try to enjoy, we get frustrated, and we get so frustrated we want to just get liberated from this material existence and want to get into chaka, renunciation. I don't want anything to do with like that, but then one cannot sustain that mode just by negation, by renunciation, and gradually the desire for enjoying again will start building up. So one gets covered, and again one thinks that, but I could be happy by enjoying this and achieving this and this goal, and then one goes constantly from bhoga chaka. I think isn't it? We have all experience of that. Even like in small, or like everyday life. That in mode of passion, we think that by eating a big, for example, out in the refrigerator, we have these fantastic cakes, and then of course this is prasadam. But you think that so I go and buy 3 big cakes, and then I eat them because I think I will enjoy, and then but then afterwards one feels so frustrated. Of course, prasadam is a bad example but food. So, tomorrow, one. Yeah, too much. So one eats like anything and gets frustrated. Why did I eat so much? And one is determined, never again am I going to do it. But then, how long does it last? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. One does it again. Again, then the desire starts building up, and one does it again and again, gets frustrated. By this sixth life, you contact some disease. So then you go to the doctor. It's very painful and it's dangerous. These diseases, because they can kill you, some of them. So then you go to the doctor, hospital, and through a treatment and suffering and like that. But the thing is, you're not remove the sex desire from your heart. So even when you're back healthy, again you kind of, you get slip into it and you do the same thing and you get the same disease again. Probably gives that example. One will constantly, unless one has the complete transcend by cultivating the higher taste in relationship to Krishna, one will be constant victim of desire, trying to satisfy desire, frustration, renunciation. But then again, desire builds up. One will just be back and forth and back. And there's no way to get out of it. stop here. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki.
Jai.
Śrīla Prabhupada ki.
Jai.